Good morning. Many things are going on with me this morning. When I came to the computer, I was not 100% sure what I was going to talk about. Of course, the new way is very much on my mind. I said to someone last night who's part of the New Way family, I was at the workshop, of course, I'm in the workshop this weekend. But I said to her, it's going to feel really strange on Sunday morning. And indeed, when you have been doing something for the community for a long time, and you've become part of that community, letting go of it is a challenge indeed. Then when I came to the computer, a new group that somebody joined me in, 2/3 of the emails that I had this morning were from that new group that I'm in. And I wish people wouldn't add me to these groups, yet sometimes I end up deleting most of the emails that come for that group. However, sometimes, as in this case, there's something that catches my attention because I do look before I delete. I don't just check the boxes like you can in Yahoo and Hotmail and something like that. In my email program, you have to look at each individual email to delete it. You can't, there's no checkbox. But anyway, I saw a quote from an old interview of Russo, who actually died a couple of years ago. He was interviewing Ron Paul, I'm assuming 4 years ago, in the run-up to the 2008 presidential election in the United States. But I thought, yes, that is something that I want to look at today. And so I've entitled my talk for this morning, Getting Government Permission is Not Freedom. And Aaron Russo asked a question of Ron Paul, do you think America is going deeper and deeper into becoming a police state? And Dr. Paul's answer was this, yeah, I think we're moving in that direction because there's not much we can do without permission. The absence of a police state is that people are free. And if you don't commit crimes, you can do what you want. But today, you can't open a business. You can't develop land. You can't go to the bank. You can't go to the doctor without the government knowing what you're doing. They talk about medical privacy. That's gone. Financial privacy. That's gone. The right to own property. That's essentially gone. So you have to get permission from the government for almost everything. And if that is the definition of a police state, that you can't do anything unless the government gives you permission, we're well on our way. This is something that people eventually, I hope, will get sick and tired of and say enough is enough. It absolutely irritates me knowing the things that I've learned over the past number of years, that so many people here in the United States, and I'm sure it's true around the world, continue to play the game of asking the government's permission. And this was especially relevant in my life because of what just happened over the past week at the New Way, where they continue, the board, at least the majority of the board, I'm not sure where Fred Migliore is on this one, But the female members of the board still think that it's important to get permission from the government to do what we do. And whenever you're asking someone else for permission, you're giving up your own authority. You're giving up your own freedom. You're giving up your rights. You're allowing some other entity, in this case, the federal government, the IRS, whatever, to make your decisions for you. This is not freedom. It's not the kind of world that I want to live in. And obviously, since I made the decision to step back from being a member of the board at the New Way, I don't want to belong to groups that refuse to step into their freedom. I mean, I still love those people. I still love Sue and Becky and Kim and Nancy and Fred, the other board members, and Melanie, the music director. I still love the people that are part of that family and that community. And it leaves an emptiness in my heart. As I said when I spoke just a couple of weeks ago, it's a community where I can come and I felt like I could be accepted and loved. And I realized they don't accept me really as I am, as long as they're taking orders from the government, as long as they think the government is the authority. Governments have no authority except when we, the people, consent to that authority. I choose not to consent. I choose to be free. That's why I filed papers declaring myself a free man and a sovereign. Because I've made a choice to stand clear and not, if the government doesn't give me permission, well, screw the government. I mean, I don't want to be in compliance for the sake of compliance. And when I get back the file, and I hope to God that Moose is able to recover that file for me that I spent a couple of days creating before my computer crashed and don't have it on record. I don't have it anymore. But it's contracting with the government to create a driver's license and a car registration on my terms, not on their terms, because I don't need their permission. But I'm willing to comply and pay a fee even if it's on my terms, when I'm making the contract. I don't want to belong to any more implied contracts. And when you go along blindly and do what the government wants you to do, you are consenting to that governing process. You are consenting to the fact that the government does not see you as a sovereign. They see you as a slave, a servant, chattel. Literally, you are property of the government. You, the human being, are property, not just your things. You are the property of the government. That's why they think they have the right to require your permission. But all they're doing is making an offer. They're making an offer. And when you allow them to and see them as the authority, you're accepting the offer. Can you see why this is such a hideous and insidious, sick game that's being played on the people? Can you see why I think that in this ninth wave, this is something important that we need to wake up to, that we need to understand that our freedom, our natural rights, our God-given rights are being brought into question. We don't need, in my opinion, and as I'm looking at it, we don't need the government's permission. In fact, getting the government's permission and feeling like you need the security of having the government's permission is a real problem. It's a disease. It's a disease of not knowing who you are and of not caring that you've given your power away, that you've sold your birthright to what in many cases, not all cases, in many cases, to people that are pathological liars and so blinded by their own greed and lust for power that they do things that are not in the best interest of anybody except themselves. Can you understand that? Can you see that? I finished watching the movie yesterday, Inside Job, about the Wall Street crisis. And some of those people that were brave enough to be interviewed were really mad by the end of the interview, because they realized, they didn't want to admit, but they realized how uncomfortable they were with facing the truth of their actions. Most of these people, probably all of them, deserve to be put behind bars till they could wake up a little bit. They deserve to go into a detention center. They deserve to be charged with crimes, because what they've done is criminal. It's not just treasonous in the respect of against the Constitution of the United States. It's criminal behavior. And they've done it at the highest levels of Wall Street, of our corporations, of our government, which is a corporation. And it goes on around the world. People that are part of these secret societies like the Bilderbergers and the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission and the various councils that have been developed at the ruling level of the nations, these things are criminal enterprises. And we, the people, need to wake up. And we need to start entrusting people that have our best interests at heart. I also saw a little blurb from President Tim Turner of the Republic for the United States of America, who was commenting on actions planned today in protest, something about rage. I can't remember exactly what it was, and I didn't copy it down and put it in front of me, but it was one of the emails that I read through. And he said, we've got to come to this peacefully. Civil disobedience is one thing, but it has to be done with peace, not with rage. And I continue, even in my meditation this morning, I continue to hold all of these things in my heart. These people that are both the victims and the victimizers, and they don't even realize, the victims don't even realize sometimes that they're the victims. The board of the New Way doesn't realize that when it's hanging on to its 501c3 and taking people's rights, namely me, requiring me to stand in line with that, they're being victims. I choose not to be a victim. I choose to stand in my own sovereignty, and I don't need anybody's permission to do that. I don't want to give up my right to freedom of speech and freedom of religion and freedom of press and all the other freedoms, the freedom to travel, freedom to do what I want peacefully and lawfully without anybody's permission, without getting permission from some megalomaniac, maniacal, I'm trying to create a word, and I don't even know how to say it. But it's maniacal. I think that's the right word. It's a maniacal system. It's a domination system, as Sue always called it during her talks about Jesus. And Jesus was against that system, the empire. He was absolutely willing to stand apart from it and not give consent to it. And we, the people of the world, need to stop giving our consent to the government. We need to do it peacefully, but we need to declare plainly, as Anonymous and many groups around the world are doing. We need to say enough is enough, as Ron Paul says. This is the awakening. This is the ninth wave. This is the time that we have, the opportunity that we have to step into our sovereignty and finally be free as we were intended to be. Namaste.